going on YouTube? It's your boy Darian and I am the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good and of course I love to smell amazing. So if you're like me out there and you love looking good and smelling great, then you've come to the right channel. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? And while you're at it, go ahead and click on the bell icon as well. That way you get notified every time I release a new video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 10 fragrances in my collection that I deem a masterpiece. Now, the term masterpiece for me, I don't throw that term around loosely. And it may not be the most complimented fragrances in the collection that make this list, but again, when I look at the way a fragrance is constructed as far as the notes and the composition, the way that it performs, to some degree, the significance that it's had overall in the fragrance community as a whole, there's different elements that I look at, not just fragrances that smell great and get compliments would be deemed for me a masterpiece. So it may be some familiar fragrances that you may not hear about on this particular list, while there are a few that may be familiar as well. But these fragrances, again, masterpiece, are fragrances that fall into a whole different category than just complimented fragrances. So if you want to know what 10 fragrances in my collection that I would deem a masterpiece, you know how we do and how we get down over here. Keep it locked right here. Okay guys, we are back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. Let's go ahead and jump right into this list of 10 masterpiece fragrances in my collection. The first fragrance that I want to start off with is a fragrance that I refer to as fragrance and art. If fragrances were art, what would it look like? And it looks like this right here from the house of Andy Tower. This is L'Air du Désert Marocain. Try saying that 3 or 4 times. But guys, again, if we want to talk about a fragrance that is a masterpiece, this fragrance is one of the first ones that I want to talk about. Now, is this going to be, as I said, one of your most complimented fragrances, or fragrances that panty droppers and fragrances that get a lot of attention and stuff like that? That's not what this is. This is a fragrance for the fragrance connoisseur that loves the artsy element of fragrance making. When you talk about note composition and just how a fragrance makes you feel, this is when you start to have this type of fragrance and when it starts to really come into people's minds. Because guys, again, an absolute masterpiece right here. When this fragrance was made, it was supposed to be made to resemble the desert. And man, when you can capture that idea in a bottle to the degree that Andy Tower was able to do with this one, it's just a home run. It's just a masterpiece, guys. This thing is dry, it's resinous, but it's kind of sweet as well. Just an absolute masterpiece. You got amber in here, you have vetiver, you have bergamot. Again, just an absolute masterpiece right here. And I think what he set out to do with just creating that whole idea of being in a dry, hot, desert, he captured that in a bottle, man. And it's just an absolute beautiful scent. If you've never smelled it, I would recommend you putting your nose on it. Again, it's not like a mass appealing fragrance, so definitely sample this one first. But if you love the art of fragrance, then you'll probably love and appreciate this one right here from the house of Andy Tower. This is L'Air du Désert Marocain. Quick honorable mention goes to a fragrance from the house of Giorgio Armani, and this is, of course, the classic Acqua di Gio. This didn't make the top 10, but I did have to mention it. When you create a fragrance that is the best-selling men's fragrance of all time, it definitely is worth mention. And I would definitely say it's a masterpiece. Although it's an easy-to-wear aquatic fragrance, it's still a masterpiece. And again, the numbers on it don't lie. This is a beautiful scent for a lot of people. This probably played a role in their early stages of their fragrance journey, because just about every guy wanted to have this in their collection because it was just that good. So quick honorable mention and shout out goes to Acqua di Gio from the house of Giorgio Armani. Now the next fragrance on the list that I would deem a masterpiece comes from the house of Tom Ford, and this is Tobacco Vanille. Tobacco Vanille from the house of Tom Ford, the private blend collection. Now, Tobacco Vanille, again, for me, is definitely one of those fragrances that I would put in that masterpiece category, because really it was, when it came out, it has such a huge impact, and so many people really flock to get this fragrance because of the uniqueness of it. I mean, you have like dried fruits in here, you have cacao, and of course vanilla. And man, just an absolutely gorgeous composition right here by Tom Ford. Again, it's not, as will be the theme for a lot of fragrances on this list, not the most versatile scent, not for everybody. But again, when you talk about masterpieces, the significance is played in just the fragrance community overall. Just so well crafted, just an absolute masterpiece, of course, from the house of Tom Ford. This one is Tobacco Beneath. The next fragrance on the list is a designer fragrance from the house of Christian Dior. This is Dior Homme Intense. Dior Homme Intense. And again, for its time, absolutely masterfully done fragrance right here. Now this one, of course, is to me the fragrance that really popularized the note of iris. The original Dior Homme is great as well, but this one added that cacao in it, and that just took it to a whole nother level, in my humble opinion. And again, that's why it's on this list as a masterpiece. You know, again, you're really hard pressed to find many people that don't at least think that this fragrance smells good. Women like it because they're a lot of times they're really drawn to that whole iris thing. And to me, it was really made to be a nice masculine scent with that nice balance with the cacao in here, man. Again, definitely one that I put in the masterpiece category from the house of Christian Dior. This is Dior Homme Intense. The next fragrance on the list is from the house of Creed, and of course, you could expect this. This is Creed AVENTUS. Now, again, does everybody like Creed AVENTUS? No. And a lot of people hate on the fragrance because of how popular it was. But again, that's just a testament to how much of a masterpiece this fragrance was when it was released in the year of 2010. The smoky pineapple thing just really took the fragrance community by storm, the fragrance world by storm. And again, I always say, man, it spawned so many clones because of its popularity that it would be really hard for somebody to make a list like this when you talk about a masterpiece and not include this fragrance on the list. For the most popular niche fragrance on the market from the house of Creed, this is Creed AVENTUS. So again, when we talk about masterpiece, really this is probably number one, although I don't really have these in order. It'll be the number one fragrance as far as masterpieces are concerned because of its popularity, what it has done to the fragrance world in general. Man, they got groups on Facebook that talk just about this fragrance. I mean, come on. From the house of Creed, this is the king, AVENTUS. The next fragrance on the list, guys, comes from the house of XERJOFF, and this one is ITALICA. XERJOFF ITALICA. And this is just the best gourmand fragrance ever created. Again, I go back and forth with this one and Black Phantom for which fragrance is my favorite gourmand, but man, this is just a masterfully blended fragrance that features some very unique notes like toffee. You don't really find that in many fragrances, but I mean, pretty much any gourmand note you could think of is packed in this bottle, but it is blended to perfection. This thing lasts all day long. 2 sprays is all you need. And it's just, like I said, a masterpiece, man. The bottle presentation is beautiful. It's not that easy to find this one nowadays, but it doesn't change the fact that it definitely falls into that masterpiece category for me. From the house of XERJOFF, this is ITALICA. The next fragrance on the list, we're going back to the house of Creed, and this one is Green Iris Tweed. Green Iris Tweed. Yes, that's right. The fragrance that has been said to be worn by so many different celebrities. This fragrance came out in the year of 1985. It's a long time ago. I would tell you how old I was at the time, but then I'll be giving away my age. The fragrance is as popular today as it was back then. And it's just really hard to beat this one, man. It's hard to, when the springtime rolls around, for many collectors not to talk about or mention this fragrance on top 10 list. It's iconic. Just like the aforementioned Creed AVENTUS, it has spawned several fragrances that have set out to clone this fragrance. And again, when that happens, it's a testament to how good a fragrance is. It's classic, it's iconic, is gentlemanly, and it is blended to perfection. From the house of Creed, another masterpiece. This is Green Irish Tweed. The next masterpiece in my collection comes from the house of Frederic MALLE, and this one is Portrait of a Lady. I love the note of rose, and again, what makes this fragrance so unique is where most fragrances went with the whole oud, rose oud combination. This one went with rose and patchouli. So you kind of get the earthiness with the patchouli, but it's a very fresh rose that you get with this one, man. And just when you talk about a rose fragrance that's masterfully crafted and done, the composition and the notes in this is beautiful, and the fragrance is just as beautiful, man. Again, if you never put your nose on this, again, I highly recommend sampling all these fragrances, especially at a price point that this one fetches, but doesn't change the fact that it's an absolute masterpiece, man. In the house of Frederic MALLE, we have Portrait of a Lady. The next fragrance on the list needs no introduction, from the house of ROJA. This is Creation E, or as some people know this as Enigma. And again, this is another one that fetches a pretty penny, but for a collector, man, if you can get this in your collection, get it, because this definitely falls in that masterpiece category. This fragrance has a note breakdown that is super long, so we won't try to get into all the notes, but just know that it is sweet, it's resinous, and it's boozy. And again, this fragrance is another one that lasts all day long. 1 or 2 sprays and you're set to go 10+ hours. It speaks to the quality of the fragrance. And again, the first of its kind to really do what this one did, as far as the whole Coca-Cola vibe that you get with this, and then it goes into this whole resinous, boozy. Man, listen guys, sample it if you can, if you've never put your nose on it. But again, if you want to put your nose on a fragrance that really just screams quality and a masterclass of a fragrance, from presentation on down to the actual scent itself, this fragrance screams quality and masterpiece. From the house of ROJA, this is Creation. Guys, we got 2 fragrances left, and next up we have another designer fragrance from the house of MUGLER. This is Pure Malt. This is Pure Malt. Now, I like Pure Havana just as much, if not better, than this one. And I know that the original Amen could really make this list, because that really started to change the tide for fragrances around the late 90s. In 96, when, you know, fresh citrus aquatic fragrances like Acquadigio was really leading the way, then you had Mugler introduce Amen, and that whole patchouli kind of cacao thing started to really turn people on to a new whole era of fragrances in a different type of composition. While I love the original Amen fragrance, this is just, again, to me, the absolute masterpiece from the collection. Now, there's no other fragrances out there that I'm conscious of that smells like Pure Malt. And, you know, of course, you get, oh man, you get the booziness that you get from kind of like the original. Just really hard to beat the scent DNA of Pure Malt. You know, you get the booziness and you get the patchouli, but you get a nice kind of chocolatey, kind of cacao vibe with this as well. And this one, just in my personal opinion, from my experience, has never really been duplicated. You know, I know there are clones of the original Amen. There's a few fragrances out there that kind of resemble that one, but there's nothing out there that resembles Pure Malt. Again, just an absolute masterpiece in that Amen line. Came in, really started to change the way that people view designer fragrances. So definitely had to make the list. Absolute masterpiece right here from the house of MUGLER. This is Pure Malt. And last but not least, guys, this fragrance comes from the house of KILIAN, and this is Black Phantom. Again, just based on the blend, guys, man, if you like if you like a gourmand scent, again, I talked about Italica earlier. This is the other gourmand scent in my collection that is an absolute masterpiece. I call this, as I always say, my white chocolate mochaccino in a bottle. There are a lot of great fragrances from the house of KILIAN, There are other fragrances like Sacred Wood, I think would fall into that category as well of a masterpiece, but this is the other one, Black Phantom, guys. I've talked about it a lot on this channel. I'm not going to say a lot. Really don't need to say a lot about this fragrance, but this is an absolute gourmand masterpiece in a bottle. All right, guys, that's my time. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I know you guys could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here with me watching this video, man, and I sincerely appreciate that. Don't forget to take the time to like, comment, and subscribe, and share these videos out to other folks that you think could use this information or find me entertaining, because I'm your main man, Darian, the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.